an example of a template. Why would we make a template of someone's head? That template is given to your wig's mistress or master or wig maker, and they will make it based on that. So they will make a wig custom design to fit your actor or your performer. So they don't just want the wig or the head measurements, because what's going to happen is you have to put the hair up to get the wig on. So they need to have the measurements with their hair up, or otherwise it will distort, it won't fit properly. It's like having a dress made too small. So you have to put the hair up in the first place. I'm going to show you that technique. The technique I'm going to be using is called pin curl techniques. Have you done pin curls already?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you've done that? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a big fat round pin curls, and we're going to do the whole thing. Then I'm going to get some Glad wrap and wrap it, then put it with a sellotape, and then take all my measurements and markings and stick that onto it. That template can be lifted, put in a little post-it bag, sent to your person in Germany or whoever's going to make the wig, and they'll make it customized based on the shape you've got. So it has to account for the hair being put up, otherwise the wig won't fit when you've spent thousands of dollars and it turns up. So this is one way of doing a wig wrap. This is the first wig wrap. This technique is used to wrap the hair to put the wig on in the first place. This is a very good wig wrap because what it does is by doing the pin curls, and they're nice big fat pin curls, it's around the whole thing, it creates what's called anchor points. So when I put a wig on, I need to have something to pin into it. Now, this is a great technique when you're dealing with dancers or people that move or acrobats, because their head are moving and you need to put the wig into an anchor, literally anchor the wig down, hence the term anchor points. So you create nice big things for the hair clips to be anchored into. So on one occasion I was doing a ballet where we had girls that were doing the can-can. So they were flipping over, but they were actually being picked up, turned upside down, going down, and they had wigs with head pieces on, and they were really high. So we had to do this anchor point. Now, a lot of your ballet dancers are trained to do this. They will turn up with, it's called wig prep. They will have the hair prepped, ready to go with these anchor points in. They may even have a wig cap ready to go for you to put the wig on, because that's how they're trained. But a lot of movie people aren't. This is not what they do. So this technique creates nice big anchor points, and it's an excellent one. So how I do it, I always brush Ms. Dolly or Miss Actor or whatever I'm using. Your water spray is really important. You just generally dampen the hair down. Using a tail comb, you're going to create square shapes. She's got hairspray in this one, so she's going to be a bit awkward. She needs a good clean. I don't know why she wasn't clean.
They should all be washed.
Yeah, she doesn't feel good, but anyway. Anywho, maybe it's just raw, maybe it's got no conditioner and it just feels like it's ripping.
Sometimes they're dry, crunchy, but they're clean.
Okay.
I'm going to do Tamara and my kid.
Ah, sorry, but thank you anyway. And so, what I do, when I do my pin curls, to make an anchor point, most ways of doing a pin curl is using the hand, turn it around and slide it off. But it gives me a bit of a baggy pants, a bit of a loose bit at the bottom. So when I'm dealing with theatre, I do this. I do a little twisty twist first. It gives me a tight base to work from. Then I do my loose piece and it sits on base nice and flat.
If you twist the thing behind the neck, the head will stop coming out.
Oh. Okay. See, I'm not used to these ones. Thanks.
No problem.
Easy. So, also, when we're doing pinning, you've probably been told you turn the pin upside down and have the little wavy bit. So we're just popping that in. And I also try and hide the little toes of my hair clips inside the hair itself. So I'm doing my first one. It's nice and solid. So, going further along, creating a checkerboard shape. The hair can be quite, they don't have to be small. It's a matter of way of getting the hair out of the way. I'm going to show you the tricks that actually what I might do is I'm going to do it slightly different. Because I was showing tricks on one of the films I was doing, because we're going to get those pins out. Those pins are all going to come out. Once I've got my wig cap on, I'm going to actually pull the pins out from underneath it. So we twist. I tend to work with my fingers straight, slide, and straight down. Open her out. So instead of doing across the toes like you would do across, I'm going to do straight lines because I can pull this out. So I think I was doing it on Pirates. They were showing us how to pull these out from underneath a cap once it's locked in. It's quite fun. It makes a difference too. You don't get these pins pinning everywhere. So I'm doing them, and as I do, I'm trying to make sure all the little flyaways are away. I'm not worried about sitting in flat because once I've got my wig cap, it's going to bring her in flat.
You're dampening the hair a little bit, Shannon, just to
just so I make sure I get all the hair. So I've done my twist. I'm pulling it out like a ribbon, and holding the little tail, I slide it straight down. We'll just do 2 or 3 pins. It's not important because I'll be able to pull those out in a minute.
Would you ever use product in the hair?
Not at this one. Oh, actually, having said that, I've done that before, yes. Because sometimes your dancers are going out to an event straight afterwards. And when you do this, you take them out, you've got perfect little curls. I have done that before. I put a little bit of mousse in it before. Normally, no. But if they want curls, because this is a compression curl technique. Absolutely. We've done it many a time because they will go out. Dancers on stage or performers on stage, they do a lot of PR after the shows, so they will have to meet and greet the people that are putting money towards the show. Sponsors, that's the word, thank you.
stakeholders.
Yeah, stakeholders. So they will always go out afterwards. Queensland Ballet have a lot of people who sponsor it on a private scale, and with the money that they donate, they actually like the chance to meet the people. So this is what they'll do after the show. They usually go out and have a chat to people. They like to meet, and then that's me, sorry. They also do a question and answer on stage on some of the shows. So they need to look good, and there's no time to change their hair. So yes, a bit of product, and it's going to come out in perfect little ringlets and give you instant body.
You said make sure you have the flyaways in there. Would you ever after you've curled all of the hair, hairspray it back?
Yes, I've often done that. So the twist is what gives me a strong base, and then I do my pin curl. This is what I got to pin into. The base is nice and strong.
If you guys can't see.
Yeah, come around.
Coming around and
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, make sure. We will learn this. I'm showing this to you as your first. So when it comes to doing, getting the hair up, I call it getting it up and out the way. You're going to have about 4 or 5 different ways of doing that. You choose what works. The job dictates the choices you make. So I'm doing pin curls because it gets me some solid good base, and it also is a good way to get a lot of hair out the way. It's used in theatre. It is used on film, but it's used in theatre a lot because of the sheer amount of base it's got onto it. So when I do my pin curls, you'll notice I'm doing 2 things with my hand. I just don't go down. I follow the movement. I go down and I create a square that I meet, and then I pull the hair out that way. That gives me a complete guideline. It's just what I'm doing. I go down, I cross my pin, I can feel it, and I pull her out. The twisting at the base is what I learned at Queensland Ballet, because we move so quickly that the pin curls, if they're traditionally done this way, which is how they've always been done, but if you twist first, you get a strong base to work from, and then you've got that little ribbon of hair. It's the same way of working, you just got a strong, see how it sits on base. That term on base, have you guys done hot rollers sets? And
Yeah, I didn't refer to.
on base, off base? That's one of the things we'll be looking at, as because we will be learning how to curl the hair. Because for your Bridgerton character, you may want to create curl, more than likely will. So we'll learn how to create volume by using hot rollers, bendy rollers, and foam rollers or assorted rollers. When you curl the hair, you do it with an intention. You know what you're doing and why you're doing it. So you can see I do my twisty. See how nice it takes. And it doesn't take long. So the dancers are all taught this wig pack technique. They come to you with it. They're not that good, I have to admit. You know, they're like, pull it too far back. And you go, all my pins need to be here, boys, and you're pulling it too far back. I have to undo it and do it properly. Like, time and time again, I have to do it for you guys. But that's okay. Yeah, they try. So I'm just taking sections. Yeah, so when we put wigs on, we need to know exactly where we're pinning it and what we're asking the wig to do. So people that are moving dancers, performers, those wigs have to stay on. They cannot come off on stage. It breaks the illusion. So you have to prep the hair. So hair prep technique. You can see I'm using a lot of pins. I'm actually just doing them in lines. I'm not crossing because I want these out in a minute. When we do more wigs and put the wigs on, oh, there we go, that's it. As Ace was saying, I'm trying to get that to turn. Which way? I need it to.
It's that one.
This one? This one?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. I've got it. Yeah, we got it. Thanks. Mechanics. That's right. What was I saying?
Ace.
Yeah, Ace. So, thanks. Ace was saying that she is working to get these wigs on really fast. It all comes down to the pinning techniques. So we'll be working on a show called Gershwin coming up in about 3 or 4 months together. And we will, as we were talking about, maybe have a minute to get one wig off, to backstage, put another one on and style it, look good and send it out again. Maybe even less. So the pinning is the key. That's why we don't put a lot of hair pins in this prep work. I'll show you how to get it flat, sit it down and make it work, but it's the direction of your pin. The crossing locks it, you can't get it out in a hurry. So if I'm having to lift a wig off, all my pins are going this direction, that literally she can pull them down. I pull the first key pins and they will fall out and it hits the floor. And that's often the case. Now, there's a lot of work in theatre actually doing this. Musical theatre is a really big thing. You can go on tour as a wig and hair person, makeup person.
Dream.
If you're doing hairdressing as well, that's an option you can go into. You go on tour with the wig. And they'll travel around Australia, New Zealand. Things like Frozen, the big shows. Moulin Rouge, they always have wiggy people.
Side note, when we were doing our basic makeup class, one of the girls that joined was actually her 3rd year in Hamilton.
Yes.
She travels everywhere, so she's done all of Australia.
Yeah.
They go to New Zealand and then they go to Milan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vietnam?
Milan.
Oh, Milan.
And I don't know how she fell into the job.
Yeah.
But she has 0 makeup experience.
Yeah.
But she's learned everything on the job, so she came into the basic makeup course so she could understand how to do makeup properly.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
That's
So
crazy.
I know, amazing. She's she's worked on Nautilus.
Really? Get out of here. How fun.
Yeah.
Good
So
for her.
she's a really Kiwi girl too.
Oh, bless her heart.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You
Yeah.
Kiwi's taking
Just living
over.
her best life.
Yeah.
Going all around the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can do it. And it's and they pay well.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I have the possibility that I might be doing something in the next year or 2. That's what I'm going to say. Secret squirrel. It really involves Paris.
Secret.
That'd be great.
So we'll see. We'll see if it comes out.
Just do makeup and then you can go to America.
I've done films in America.
Paris and yeah.
I've done films in America.
New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand got flown over, got flown to somewhere in America to do a sci-fi. It was filmed in New Zealand and Australia, and then they did components of it in Midwest of America, and they took us out for it. Because it's sometimes cheaper to have the crew they've got, because they already know what they're doing, the characters are set and established.
Did you have to pay for your flights, or
No.
did they fully pay for it?
No, they pay for everything. Lordy.
There's so much
Lordy.
money for films and
Yeah.
stuff. They're just
And they pay overtime.
That's why you want to be good at what you do,
Yeah.
so you can live your best life.
Yeah, yeah.
Money, 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 money.
It's how it is. I mean, I've worked on shows, I've worked on movies, all sorts of circus. Like I said, I did a circus stint.
What type
Circus
of
of Horrors.
circus?
It's like the American
Yeah.
Horror Story.
I know Circus of Horrors.
Yeah, I did a circus of horrors event in England.
That's
You do. The more you do, the more you get a chance to do. And because you've done it, they book you to do it because you can. But I started with a handful of dreams. I started wishing to become a makeup artist at 16, and in New Zealand there were no schools. I had to hustle for my education. If I had access to a school, lordy, how fun my life would have been. But I had to hustle.
We be blessed.
Yeah, I would have been beyond thrilled. I ended up actually doing a course, and where I ended up having to teach the makeup teacher stuff I had learned because she had never done it before. I'm
Wow.
like, lordy, yeah. That was in New Zealand. That was when I was doing my fashion elements. I had to teach her some stuff because she had never seen it before. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Right, so a pin curl base. It's very strong. It's called a base. It creates a base. It gets the hair flat, but I can pin now. These pins can come in and cross, and whatever I need them to do, hold really firm. But I'm not going to do my full template yet. I'm going to put a wig cap on. Now, wig caps. Boom. Little wig caps, they look like stockings, but they're nice and quite wide. Do not worry if it's got a little ladder in it. I'm actually going to probably make more ladders as we go in a moment. A wig cap is a way to put the hair out, get it flat, and get all the flyaways away. And it also is another way to use to put the wig on. It gets the hair nice and tidy.
You can buy bulk
Can
packs
I
of
borrow your
them.
hands for a moment? Yeah, you can. If you just hold that wig cap down with your fingers. Thanks. I usually get the actor to do this. It's hard on Ms. Dolly.
Cosplay life, man.
Yeah.
So many wig caps. So many.
Yeah, wig caps are great. All right.
So many.
Would you say that this is like I'm not sure how to say this, like a must to do the rolls all over the head because some people just
It depends on what I'm trying to achieve. If I've got this technique is a way to put a wig on and make it hold. So if they're doing a lot of movement, performance, twisting or jumping, this technique is brilliant. There's another technique I'll show you down the track, and it's called braids. The film technique we use gets it really thin and flat. It's not a good holding one. This is creating bases, and we put bases everywhere to lock it in. So this is the first one I'm teaching you only because it's so good. And it's a very common one you'll find performers will do if they're doing it. Yeah, it allows me to really hook things in and hold it, because if I get underneath here, they're not moving. That's actually locked in quite nicely. So this is, it's basically a base to it.
Would you do that for like stunt performance?
Most definitely. There's another thing I do for stunts though. When it comes to stunts, we actually have to sew the wig into their hair and don't use pins to start with. Because if the stunt person falls, a pin can come out and twist, and it can be very painful if they fall on a hair pin, and it can cause damage. So we very rarely use hair clips. So this technique is great, but I have to flip all the pins out because they can be dangerous, especially if they're doing horse stunts or stuff like that. So let me just straighten that up a bit more. So we've got our first pinning in. Oh, I did go in. Oh, yes, chappy. There we go. Okay. So when I put a wig cap on, I haven't finished it. I'm pushing the hair back. I need to expose some of the hair on the side, and at the top, because I'm actually going to be using pins to pin that down. Now, 2K clips. I'll introduce you to. These little guys, they're called 2K clips. They're also like extension clips. You will have seen those for those that have extension. Okay, so 2K clips. These, in the field of wiggy, you have a separate bag of stuff, and it's usually for wigs alone. This is usually only a hair person would use or a wig person would use. A normal makeup artist probably would never come across it nor need to. So I'm using this to anchor a wig cap on. So it's got its little teeth, and it's got like a little plastic band. The teeth are going under the hair. I'm exposing the natural hair. I'm pulling it back a little bit. If you can't see, please come around. Come around and watch. Okay? So, see how I'm exposing the natural hair? You can sit on the floor, you can be around wherever you want to go. I'm putting his teeth into the base and I'm clipping it down, leaving about yay wide, because when I put the wig on, the wig will go beyond it, but I'm going to put a clip underneath it. This is called, it's anchoring it in as well. It's another anchor point. So a clip here, ooh, go down. They come in different colors and they come in different sizes. These toupee clips are traditionally used to hold a wig cap on and to create something to pin underneath. So I like to make sure my band is nice and flat and not floppy, or anything caught under it, because this won't close if it does. Oh yeah, there she goes.
The other one underneath, Shannon, to hold
This one?
it from turning. Yeah. Just tighten that up.
There we go.
So these are the same clips, guys, that you use for extension pieces.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy these toupee clips as they are, and you can
Separate.
sew weft here
Mm-hmm.
onto them, turning them into clip-in extensions. It's something you may possibly do in class for your Vikings as well.
If anyone wants them, I can get them at discount at work.
Where do you work?
I work at Hair House in Chermside.
Oh, bless
How
your
much
heart.
are they? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, it's like $20-$30 for a pack of them. I don't remember how much is in a pack, but I get 30% off. So if you guys just let me know what color, how many you need, I'll buy them, and then I'll just tell you how much to transfer me.
Yeah.
Thanks, good to know.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm pinning two on the back, so at the nape, here and here. I'm leaving a little bit of natural hair underneath it. This is just holding this down for the minute. What I'm going to do, I'm going to lift this. So you'll notice it's been cut, it's got a little feet taken out, and there's a reason why, exactly why I want that to happen. I'm going to get a U-pin, and I'm going to show you a few tricks. So this holds it down while I pull it. If I don't anchor it, it will flip off. So I'll usually do it. Then what I do is I do a little twisty, get that nice and tight, maybe a little tighter. So don't worry about the ladders. That is not an issue. And I flatten it down, and I'm going to use a U-pin. Now, U-pin comes in. Yeah. So the little feet stick out when I do my U-pin, and what I do is I just simply pivot it nicely, gently. Don't poke their head down, and pin it back on itself. The U-pin has to come in and then go back. And what it does is it grabs the hair and it goes underneath it, and it's like a little fork. It
We did
forks
that
itself
for our
underneath it.
rolls.
Yep, you know all how to do this? Yep. U-pins are my favorite way of working. So little toes, but in, flapping her down. Now I'm going to do this again on this side, so I'm opening that out. Then I'm going to get rid of all these pins inside it.
I'm so excited to see that.
Hmm?
I meant to say in mind, no say mind.
There you go. Start flipping. You start pushing at its feet, and it pokes its toes out. Now I'm taking all the shrapnel out, which means it's sitting nicely done. I don't need everyone out, but I need just the majority. I'm getting about 3/4 of them out. What I can feel, what I don't need. That's why they're all lying just in one direction. They're not crossing. If they cross, they can't come out. They're more difficult.
Oh, you didn't cross them when you're pinning them?
I'm just laying them down straight, like little soldiers lying down. Yeah, there's one, I'll get them out. So this is what I learned. I'm like, what do you mean you can get them out? I've always never done that, and we were doing it on Elvis, whatever. And they were like, yeah, recycle, reuse them again, because you're going to want to pin your use bobby pins if you need to. So it hasn't changed the shape, it hasn't changed the weight. It's just lifting. So you just use your fingers, push the toes, and the spine of it will poke itself out. That's what's causing the running. So I'm not too concerned about having the ladders in it. It will happen. And by doing this, it's now not going to interfere when I do the wig wrap, and the wrapping is allowing me to get a template. This is the technique I would use to do it on my actor. So this is the way I would put the hair up. So now I'll have a complete, proper fitting space for them. So there's different techniques, but this is a nice one of keeping it, thanks, flat. And it gets all these extra shrapnel bits. I call it shrapnel, it's stuff I don't need in there. Moving around, anything sticking out can come out.
There's like one at the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one right at the front.
Down the side.
Ah, is she?
Right there, we've all been staring at it.
That one. Get that one.
It's a fun little game.
Yeah, it is. Now, when it comes to hair clips, when you're working on a stage production, theatre, sometimes they have carpet on the floor. You have to be very, very careful when you drop any pins, and I mean actual pins, or hair clips and stuff like that, because dancers come through with their little stocking feet. They don't actually have shoes on. So you've got to be very careful what hits the floor, because if they stand on an actual pin, they can't do the performance that night. They damage their feet. Their feet are their fortune, and that includes U-pins and T-bars or whatever you're working with. Thanks. So now what I do is just get a little mergy. There's probably only 15% of pins left holding it in. That's about it.
So you only take out the ones you can feel like when
Just
you
the surface ones, yeah. And so it's sitting nice. I've got anchor points. It's all away. This is pinned. This is looking good. Now, if I was going to put a wig on, I'd put a wig on, and which we will be doing over time. And I'd be using a U-pin, and I would anchor it. Literally, I'd be doing like this. So, first one, second, and there, and then I can pin into hair as well. I'd have my wig on. I would go down, and I would come up and see this. Can't move it.
That's not moving.
It's not moving. But anything in here is not moving either. So this is why it's one of these good ones. But the trick is to do the twist to get the base strong, and then do your pin curl and slide her off, and she's on base. Now that term will mean something down the track. I'll explain what that means.
Where do you get these wig caps? Or
Oh, online.
Or can you use like an alternative?
I have, but these wig caps are good because they're quite wide. If you get stocking, they'll probably use the thigh of a stocking, which they've done before. That's where they originated from.
eBay for like $20.
Yeah, you get them in
100
packets.
packs.
They're cheap as, and yeah, they're not expensive nor hard to find. And they'll come in a pale ivory, this biscuit colour, a mid-brown, and a black skin tone. Okay, so now we know this process. So that's how I would put a wig on. But what I'm going to do is I actually want to make a template. So we'll make a template.
Also, when getting wig caps, make sure you're not getting the wig net caps. Make sure you're getting these ones, because if you look them up, they're like net ones,
Yeah.
which are a pain in the ass to work with.
Normally when you buy a wig, you will get the netted
So,
version.
what I'm going
with
to do,
that.
lift.
Alright.
Can you just, yeah, hold, oh,
There.
actually hold that straight.
They are
Step
a
back, step back,
pain.
take the whole thing, I'll come this way. Now what I'm going to do, keep it taut, and start.
Did you get like a
Right.
dollar actor or like
Yeah.
as a whole?
This is usually done only ever once.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'll go down low onto her face, I'll lift it, and I'm going to get you to wrap it around. Start walking it around, let's bring her back a little bit. Keep it tight, keep it tight. Bring it around, let go. Starting the process, keeping it nice and tight. I need to cover right all the hairline because I'm going to mark up where her hairline is. I want to cover all of this.
Just
Then-
casually in the face.
Yeah.
Lovely.
As long as she can breathe.
As long as you can
Yeah,
breathe,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get
Gorgeous.
sellotape and actually lock that down. So this is just a way of holding it. The sellotape is what's going to bind it and hold it down. Now I've got sellotape and scissors.
There's an Australian TikTok creator called Riley, but I don't know if her name's Riley. You guys have heard of her? She does like curse cosplays and stuff.
Yes,
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
met her.
Yeah,
She does this all the time.
she's like a self-taught makeup artist.
Oh, yeah?
And she doesn't own wig caps. So whenever she needs
This is what she does.
Yeah, she does.
Instead of
Really?
wig cap,
Yeah,
It's a
it's like a
wig
wig
cap.
cap. She just
sellotapes her hair down.
Yeah.
she
Oh.
braids her hair, then she wraps, glad wrap, and then sellotapes it. And this is just what she does.
But she's so
I
entertaining.
don't
She's in Brisbane. She's from Brisbane.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she
I
goes to
can see
Supernova.
like how that would work, but how is that like with?
Cosplay, so they're like legit. Not like they don't
I'm just wondering how it would go with the pins going through it. Like is break.
They don't. She normally has bald caps.
Oh, okay.
So, like it's so entertaining to watch her figure it out.
But she's
media, not just
she does pole, and she has a Jack Sparrow cosplay.
Might have been easier just to get a wig cap personally, but however, if it works for her. So I'm going around and now I'm going to come over and create this. When it comes off, it's actually got solid form. If I don't use this, it will just collapse like your sandwich wrapping or for your cheese and Marmite sandwiches.
What? No, totally.
That's so cute.
And what it's doing is it's actually taking an imprint of the form of the head as well.
Is it better hair piece at the bottom? Does it
Oh, yeah.
have to be covered?
I'll get there, so thank you.
Okay.
I will definitely cover because I'm going to want it. So I do a cross. I need to be able to see so I don't make it too solid and hidden. But you can see how it's already becoming a nice tight cap. This is a template. From the template, I then take the head measurements. If I want to do the head measurements without a template, I would just wrap the hair and put my wig cap on and then measure the head. But I'm going to send, if I was going to get a wig customized made, they would go, where's the wig template or head template? I would send that with the measurements. Because why? I'll show you why in a minute. They want a lot of information that the measurements alone won't give them, that the template will.
So for our assignment, you would
Yeah.
just wrap the hair, put the wig cap on,
And
and
measure, that's it. All you need to do for it. But this is a template I'm going to show you because you will some point in time.
is this also like a bit beneficial if like you only have one chance to get the measurements and you just take your time with it and like you've got the head.
Yeah, you've got
essentially.
Because this can be sent to them.
Yeah.
So now wig makers aren't often in Australia. They have them over in Asia. They have them in Germany are big wig makers. America, they will do. London, they most definitely do for film. So it's a very, very expensive process to customise and make a wig. Like I said, $20,000 plus. And they will do more than one. An example being the Game of Thrones, the beautiful blonde girl who had all those
Oh,
wigs.
yes.
Daenerys.
Yes.
Daenerys. She had a lot of wigs would have been made for her because their hair's at different lengths and different colours and different effects. So a budget for her wigs would be pretty impressive, and they'll custom make for her. They're not generic out of a box.
That's crazy.
Have you guys seen The Witcher?
Yes.
Yeah.
His wig annoys me so much because the hair, like the hairline, it comes out like here, and then like the hair like comes back, and it just looks like a really poorly attached
Yeah,
wig.
yeah.
Oh, that's
I've
good.
seen a lot of wigs that just like
Yeah, it just makes me cringe.
makes me cringe too.
You would hate the cosplay community. So.
Oh no, it's okay. I mean,
no, but that's one of the first
You
things I
expect
look
it.
at
Yeah.
is their wigs and how
Yeah.
well they've applied them.
yeah,
There's a difference between a really high budget.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people
Absolutely.
who are
Yeah.
doing stuff
It's
homemade.
it's
I'm such a fan of the cosplayers. I love what they do. I think it's brilliant. So love it. I love going to the conventions and seeing it.
there's one in November
Oh,
coming
which
up.
one? Comic-Con?
Brisnova, Supernova, Brisbane.
Okay.
I go every year.
Cool. Yeah, I think they're fun. Right, so we've now got the head form. We can see the balance of where the head form is sitting. The hair is just around it. It's going to give me the measurements. But a wig person, if they're making the wig, want more information than just the measurements. Where is my permanent marker?
Did you bring mine in?
Yeah, I did. I got a pack of them. Oh, that will be the one. So, first thing I would do, I would put the name of the actor because they may get several of them. If you're getting several made, like Lord of the Rings, they would have had a lot of people doing it, and they want to know which one's which. So I'd put the actor's name. In my case, I'll just put Shannon because I'm doing it.
Would you also put like a character name as well? Because sometimes actors
Could be, could be. What they want to know, one of the reasons why I pulled the hair back is they want to see where is the hairline, where is the sideburns, where is the back of the hair, and what direction is the hair going. So what I'd be doing, I will be marking up. Oh, that hasn't got tape on. Let me get that one. See, I can feel there's no tape on that.
Once the wig's made and everything, what normally happens with it after if it's custom made?
Well, that's a really good question. The actor doesn't have it, that's really sure. It's not theirs to have. Everything that's made is for the production. The production own it, not the makeup artist. But what happens when the production closes? the makeup artist buys them off them.
Oh.
And they get them cheap as chips. That's how film makeup artist ends up with very expensive product in their kit. Oh, where am I going? Oh, yep, that's right.
Sometimes it gets donated as well.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
might end up in a museum.
Or it might end up thrown out. An example, and this story is going to break your heart, and it broke mine when I found out. When I was working on Narnia, one of the wolves, or several of the wolves, they were mechanical wolves. So they had the mechanical guys come in and actually made mechanical.
Is that the same with like all the animals?
What was that? What's that?
With all of the animals, like.
No, we used a lot of real animals, but they couldn't get wolves in New Zealand. Because they're not allowed them through customs, so they actually got the guys
How
to make them.
casual.
Yeah. So what they did is they made these actual wolves for close-up hero work. They hand punched. They brought a guy from America to look after them. So the guys were making them in the back. Then they had hand punched. He airbrushed and he made it like flat. Some was old, some were new. So they had a few of them. And when they finished, they didn't keep them because they're so expensive. They threw them out.
They threw out
They
a lot
threw
of like
out.
set stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like all of
They
set
threw
things get just chucked away.
Yeah, they threw out onto New Zealand tip 4 or 5 handmade mechanical wolves, and I'm like, you're killing me. They weren't all the full back, they were the front with the legs and the mechanics at the back. So you just saw this movement. They didn't invest in the back or the tail. This whole flocked and done by perfect, down to the lashes, down to the. I'm like, you're killing me.
Someone would like sneak in there at night time and just.
Oh,
Well, I know
Absolutely.
someone where the Scooby-Doo movies were made.
Yeah.
Someone has the disco ball.
oh, yeah.
I saw that on TikTok.
Stays
Yeah.
on the
Island,
They
I
have
have the disco ball.
and it actually hangs in their house on the island. That's good.
It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
The crew. If you're ever part of a crew and you want to have a party, you've got lighting, you've got sound, you've got props, you've got everything. They'll all come together and they'll just redo your whole house for you one day.
There's another
Great to
Shreddy
have.
museum because that's where
Wasn't
like
that on Shreddy? Didn't they do Scooby Doo on Shreddy?
So anyway, back to me for a minute because I'm super important. What I'm doing here, I've done my edging with my permanent marker and I'm now doing the direction which the hair would grow. I can see it because I'm looking down. I've opened that wee space. I've got my clips, but I can see the direction the hair is growing. So my person would want to know, if I'm creating a design that needs a part, I would have done a wrap that had the hair apart. And if there was a part needed in it, I would be doing where I want my part. I would create a space. Now, when you look at some of the wigs this afternoon, some have got an already preset part. So they'll have a part, they've got like a silicone membrane and it looks like real hair. So if I pick up a wig and it's got a part, I have to part my actor's hair. I need to separate it, I need to clip it first, then I wrap around it and I align that part of the wig on top of the natural part so you can look down into it. If it's got a silicone backing, that's fine, I don't care because you're not going to see her real hair underneath it. They don't always use wig caps on film, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But that's just an example of how I would draw a part. Just to show you the direction I would do. Now at the back, people have all those little flyaways and I would do the curl direction the flyaway is going. So I'll say, I'm sending this to Beryl. So Beryl lives in Bosnia, bless her fluffies. Beryl from Bosnia is going to get all this and she's got a whole team of her friends. They've set up a little cottage industry and they're going to be making wigs for Lord of the Rings. So we would send her all of this. I would have my actor's name, I would have the hair direction. That's part of what she wants, but she also wants the measurements so she can get it perfect because she has to put it on a block and then stuff this. So what Beryl would do, she would open this, then I will cut it to open it and I'll put a bit of sellotape for her, then she'll put it onto a block and she would stuff this, possibly with tissue, and then put a wig cap over it and then start creating the cap and then doing the punching so the whole thing is perfectly balanced for my actor. So that's what Beryl and her friends would be doing down in Bosnia. And that's actually an interesting place because that's where they do make a lot of wigs because they're super cheap. So let's get our measurements. Now you would of course, there's different ways and different things and different bits and bobs. Now I would write, you can do centimetres, you can do inches, it's not that important as long as they know exactly what you're doing. We can do, let's do inches. first thing Beryl wants to know is the circumference of my person's head. So I would possibly write it on a piece of paper separate, but I haven't got one here. I'm just going to stick it on here. So when you do it, you've got a little column and you would write it down. And it's actually got the direction which you follow when you do your measurements. So in this case, we'll say it's Frida's 22. So it's the circumference, I do a line. Just for the template's sake, she can see where it's going. I would do different colours. And I'm going to go along, boom, 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 boom. So she knows. And then that's...
Would you get your actor to hold the tape and you could just draw a line along it?
Absolutely. So it's 22 inches. Oh, thank you.
You got a
So,
small head, bro.
And I use just different coloured pens because, I mean, why not? The answer is just, why not? Okay, circumference. The next thing Beryl wants to know is what's the space between the tip of her ears to the tip of her ears. So we're going to go from her hairline. There you go. Cross. Be nice. So I'm going to do a line in blue. Boom, boom. Because I love colour, I can't stand writing in one pen alone.
Yes.
And I highlight everything because my brain works that way.
That's really common for people with dyslexia because I can't read black on white either.
that's
It's
why.
so hard.
There you go.
And it helps us focus and visualize what we're looking at more than just looking at the basics.
See,
I'm dyslexic too, man. I got you.
it's my magic power. You know, it allows me to be creative because I'm wired that way. That's why the mind is wired. We're all special, and the way we're created is the way we are. You know, and to me, I've utilized it and turned it to my
Advantage.
my
Oh, yeah.
advantage. You know,
My teachers used to say I write in secret code because I would use numbers as letters all the time.
yeah. Look, I mean, I can pretty much read anyone's because my brain is wired too. I can see these things, but I have no problem with that. So from hair tip to hair tip is the next one I'm taking, and this one is 13.5 inches. It could be centimeters. It's not so important.
Just pick one and stick to it.
Yeah, take one and stick to it. So I've got 13. I would probably make that easier to read. I'll do it with a red because that's easier to see. That orange
we
is
got
in the
red.
red screen because of the dark hair. 13.5 inches. And that's that line. But you can see where I'm going with that now?
Yeah.
See how why it makes sense? She would also want measurements, the base. So I would probably do down here,
Looks like she's gonna have brain surgery or something.
yeah,
Plastic surgery.
4.5 inches. So
She's getting
across
her
here.
head remodeled, guys.
And I'd write it on a separate paper and I'd take photographs as well. If I'm ordering a wig, I would take photographs of exactly the colour I wanted as well. Because not only is she going to make it, she's going to colour it. That's 4.5. What I do is I actually send her, so it's into the template. I would write it down on a piece of paper so if she can't read my writing, she's best luck if she can. Then I'd send a photo of this with my actor so they can see what it looks like, a photo of the colour or a swatch of the colour, as well as the style I'm looking for. So they've got a whole idea.
Would you ever send like a mood board of like,
Yeah, could do. But
mixture of this style and this
Yeah.
style with a bit of
I'm the one that cuts it. I'm just giving her where I want it to go. She would send me it all down in a raw state. The hair lace would be down here, and I would put it on my actor and cut to the hairline, to their face shape, because she has no idea what the actor's face shape, although she can see the photo. So that's my template. There's my measurements.
Now
Does that make
take
sense?
it off.
Now take it off. So what I would do is I'm just going to use a smaller pair of scissors. Whenever you're cutting something on somebody, you need to actually get your hand up underneath it. You haven't done ball caps yet?
No.
You have, for those that haven't. This is a technique for cutting a ball cap anyway. You put your fingers up underneath either the ball cap or this, and you're going to use your scissors and take little micro bites. And you can feel exactly where this is going without cutting their hair. Boom, 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 boom.
I'm sure they'd love a free haircut though. You know?
Yeah.
One wrong
I've done
slip.
that more than once.
Yeah.
If it hits the floor, you just put your foot over it, no one knows. Oh, there you go. And you kind of walk your foot out the door.
So I
Yeah,
just start
yeah.
back.
Yeah.
They'll never know. No, I haven't done that.
A friend of mine actually cut my hair when she was taking curls, and I actually cut my hair with straws.
Oh yeah.
And she like done my entire head, and then I saw a straw fall to the ground like a chunk of my hair, and I was like, oi!
Oh dear, that's no fun.
Shannon, just out of
Yeah.
curiosity, do you know off the top of your head what day the students need to have their model come in? Are they going to do this outside?
No, they do this outside. This is, you do this outside. You just do the measurements outside. You don't need to do the template. I'm just showing you the template. You do this outside. You don't need to bring them into school to do it. You'll measure it, you'll upload their measurements. That's all.
Okay.
Easy. Yeah.
So that means we have to meet with our models outside this.
Yes, you do.
Like a real life situation.
Ah!
Oh, sorry. Throwing stuff around. So I'm just going to lift this off. Bingo. Now I've got that, and what I need to do is reseal it down because Beryl and Bosma doesn't really know what I'm doing, so I'm going to reseal that with my sellotape.
I
would
still want
send
to
you
put it
all
on my head.
Yeah, all my information, all my photos, all my bits and pieces.
If you were like getting a specific color, like they needed to do like a black wig,
I'd
would you,
recommend-
like take a swatch from like
Yes,
Bunnings or something?
Most definitely. I'd probably recommend a colour brand or something similar, but I would definitely take a swatch of it if I was looking for a unique, like a lilac or anything like that. So that would be sitting there. So when Beryl gets it, what she'll do is she will have a canvas head block, which is what we'll be working with at some point. Then she'll put this on, and then she's going to puff up underneath it to get, because the canvas head blocks are fairly generic, and yet this has got a little bit more weight, so she'll put it in. Then she'll start doing the actual process of making it. So that is a template with the measurements. You are only needed to do the measurements, and you would do it straight when someone's hair's back. You don't even need to have a wig cap to put the head back. Just find a technique of getting the hair up and flat, and by the time you actually get to do it for your model, you'll have at least 4 different ways of doing it. Then you would do exactly what I've just done. You would go across and down, take the measurements, from ear tip to ear tip, take the measurements. The circumference comes from the hair and goes across. So it's actually this width she's looking for. You've got a full breakdown of it. It's from here, and that's your basic points, and I think in your breakdown there's a few more measurements needed. You just write those down and upload that. So that is a pin curl wig wrap. That aside was added to it. Why did I use the pin curl technique? What was that for?
Because it gives it a strong point at
And
the
what's that
base.
strong point called?
Anchor
Anchor
point.
point. It gives me a solid anchor point. Why have I put these here? Why have I exposed a little bit of hair?
When you like put the wig on,
Yeah,
you can
it
do
also
that.
as an anchor point. So I'm going to anchor under here with my first pin. So my first pins, when I pin a wig on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the main places of
If you're
anchoring.
doing it for dance, is that where you would only pin? Or
No, I pin it now. So this is your typical pattern. There's usually 1 at the front, 2 at the side, 2 at the back. Then if I'm doing dance, then I come in and actually pin right through it. So every hair person that does wigs knows these placements. Because when you've got this elaborate wig and you're kind of putting your fingers in and you're trying to find it to get them out without disturbing it, they'll go first to the front, they know there's 1 there. There's 2 at the side, they know there's 1 there. 2 at the back, they'll pull those down. Then they know there's some hidden in there, and they usually, and it comes to what I'm trying to achieve. So all of these anchor points can actually have more than 1 pin in it. I can pin, 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 and pin. If I was doing a quick change, my pin formation all goes down this direction, all in one direction. This goes down, that goes down. They're all heading like little arrows going ding, 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 boom. So what I would do, flip, flip, the head goes down and the weight pulls the rest of them off. So the whole thing comes off with the underlying pins. If they're doing a stunt, if they're being thrown upside down, if they're moving, there's another way of pinning that gives you more security. Where's mine? Here we go.
I was like, I've been a dancer, like I've had this done to my head.
Yep.
It's so insane. The wig people will just be like, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So when you're doing a lot of stunts, movements or dance, you're going to do this as well. You're pinning at the front. Thank you. This. Pick them up. Throw things everywhere. You're doing a secondary pinning here pinning here, pinning here, pinning here. You would do that either to your wig or to the wig cap as well. You can, this is basically, go down, lift it in and do this. This is locking this in.
Extra
Nothing is
anchor
going to come on.
points.
Extra anchor points. Any which way I can go to lock this little chappy in, I do. Now the pins I use when I do my U-pins are the ones that are straight. I don't mind if it's got a crinkle. Some have little bobbles on the end. You can't use those for wigs. They won't go through the lace. They're good for hairstyling, and they're really not good for lace work.
So if you for like stunts and stuff where you
Yeah.
can't have pins in the hair, I know you
Yeah.
said you'd sew it in.
Yeah.
So would you do the same
Yes.
thing, take all the pins
Yes.
out and then
Yes.
sew it in?
Yes. So I'd take all my pins out here. I would leave these click clacks, they're called, or toupee clips. Also, they're toupee clips, not click clacks. These are click clacks. We use
Click
this.
clack, paddywhack, bidooga boom.
Yeah,
Just
we
on
use
they came rolling
those
home.
boys for another technique. But yes, I would leave those in because they're flat, they're not going to move. I'd put the wig on and then I would actually get a running thread. Now you learnt how to do sewing in the hair wefts
Yes.
yesterday, extensions. That's the same technique. You just get a long one, you can get a curved needle, but I tend to use those plastic ones and I just walk it around and I do a series of a running line right through the whole wig. So by the end of the day, I cut my little knot and I just go, and the whole thing, boom, she's off. So it's just a little running tacking line. If anyone knows how to tack or hand sewing comes in so jolly handy. It's like, who knew that if I could sew or do sewing machine or anything, all those craft skills are so important. They come together, they bring it all together. So that's what I'd be doing for a stunt person, because especially if they're doing horse riding, people have been known to be thrown from horses and they often land on their head and stuff like that. So I can't have these. Are dangerous on a stunt person. They can maneuver and go straight in and they could end up with some very serious ouchies behind the whole thing. So I pin it first, I anchor it, I put it on, and then I just run a running thread, usually like in a circle shape around, and the hair's either then pre-styled or styled, and you can open a space and do that. So it makes perfect sense, and this is going to stay on, it's not going to come off.
When you sew with like you would have the pin curls underneath, so you would just be sewing them into things.
All those
and
lovely
skip
anchor points.
over the
Yeah.
sections that are.
Yeah, I'll take all the inside pins out. So it'll all be held by this. The cap is holding it nice and tight. All the internal pins I've flipped out. And literally you saw me push it through the weave and pull them out. And yeah, then the sewing would just anchor it into the anchor points. This is what's holding the inside. So these are safe, but nothing else is.
So, just because I know the opening, that would you take those out after you put the wig on, or
What's that? These?
so the ones
These?
holding the opening down?
Are these the U-pins?
Yeah, that hold
They
the
all come
opening of the.
Oh, those boys.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Flip them out.
Flip
They
them
don't need to be on. The wig's on, sew it around it, take everything out.
Okay.
Even those are dangerous. Yeah. Everything that's got a U-pin or a bobby pin can be turned into a little weapon on a stunt person because they're moving so quickly. You just do it without even thinking about it. We can also use what's called wig tape.
Wait, can you push pins out through wigs?
Usually at this stage, I would take, yes, I can put the wig on because it's got a mesh, and then I'd pin those little ones would just come through.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're usually okay. Now we have a thing called wig tape, sorry about that. So if someone doesn't have a lot of hair, or they've got a high hairline, now often this is the case, you put the wig on, you put a piece of tape down, and you can glue it down onto the tape. Now this wig tape, it's like a Hollywood tape. Has anyone ever used Hollywood tape?
Yes.
Yeah. This is a little stronger. It's like 4 times stronger than Hollywood tape. It's got a little real punch behind it. You have to roll it off the skin to get it off. It tends to grab. And it's designed for skin and wigs. So Hollywood tape. What was I going to say?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So when I work on Queensland Ballet, we do facial hair pieces. The guys hate spirit gum. Now they actually pretty close to refuse to wear it. And I'm like, brilliant. I've got to get a moustache on, but I've got to get it off. And I've got to get it off because they do character changes really quickly. And if I glue it on, then there's this glue and I've got to take that off. So what I tend to do, and they've told me because they've had someone figure it out, bit of Hollywood tape or wig tape, they put them they glue on top of the tape, then they glue the moustache to it. So they can pull this off, the tape comes off with it, because they come and change character, this and this all come off. So I just soak off the wig tape. It's glued to the tape, which is glued to the hair.
Oh,
I
okay.
know, but it doesn't work on film because you can see it moving, but from a distance
Oh, yeah.
it's fine.
You
So
can
yeah,
get away with that. Yeah.
perfect, you can get away with it. So the tape goes down, bit of glue, put the hair on the tape, and the whole thing comes off in one hit. Because often they'll come in and they're playing 5 or 6 different characters. Like on Nutcracker, they jump in and I go, who are you now? I go, oh, I'm soldier number 1. I'll go get soldier number 1 next time they'll come up. Because they rotate them and they play different characters at different roles at different stages. And I don't know, so that I ask them, I go, cool, and they usually grab it for me and sit down. Does that make sense what we're doing? Why we do? So this is your first wig wrap technique. Why did I twist it first and then do my curl? Was there a reason for that?
Because it makes it tighter and
At
less
the
of a
base.
loose space.
Absolutely. Some of the old wiggies can do it and they twist at the same time, but it works for me. I just twist manually and slide it off. So you can come and feel that. That's on nice and strong.